The presidency has confirmed that it has completed a disciplinary process against spokesperson Khusela Diko. This with regards to Diko's failure to disclose her interests in certain companies as required by public service regulations on the disclosure of financial interests. Following the disciplinary process, Diko has been served with a written warning for this offence. The presidency says the action taken was in compliance with a recommendation by the Special Investigating Unit. Diko, who is on maternity leave, will not be returning to the position of President Cyril Ramaphosa's spokesperson and will be assigned a different post. We're joined now by Zoom by Nonceba Mhlauli, who is the spokesperson to the Minister in the Presidency on this story. Nonceba, a very good morning and thank you so much for making the time to speak to us. Why did it take so long for this decision to be made?
Good morning, Desiree, and good morning to your viewers. You would know that last year, Ms. Diko requested to take special leave following the allegations around the PPE tender that happened in the Department of Health in Gauteng, following the proclamation by the President that there ought to be an SIU investigation. We received the report earlier this year, which was the preliminary reports, which then indicated that, or recommended rather, that Ms. Diko be taken through a disciplinary process with regards to her failure to disclose some of her financial interests with regards to a few boards that she would have been a part of. The process would have started at the beginning of the year, and then of course you would remember that Ms. Diko then unfortunately lost her husband, and the DC case was then postponed until such time that she was done with her family responsibility leave at the time. The DC process then started duly, of course. The process is now concluded, which is now, we are now at the point where she now has been reinstated, but because she's currently on maternity leave, she will then return back to public service at the end of her maternity leave period. So that's really just the process of how everything started and how we got to where we are currently.
What do you mean she'll return to public service? Do we know what position she'll be occupying?
As we've stated, that she will not be returning as the spokesperson of the President. However, between herself and her employer, which is the Presidency, those modalities are currently being worked out. But of course, that will be something that will be finalized once she does complete her maternity leave period. In fact, I think she just started her maternity leave about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So when she does return from maternity leave, those modalities of the actual position that she would be returning to will then be finalized and communicated duly.
How's the presidency processing the public outcry yesterday at the announcement that she will be returning?
Well, so you would know that the SIU report had recommended that she be taken to DC on her failure to disclose some of the boards that she would have and councils that she would have been serving on, which is a process that as public servants we undergo every once a year, where we have to declare our financial interests, and when we are found to have either under-declared or not declared in time, there would be a process where you would be asked to explain why you haven't done so, and after that you would then be issued with a warning. So the written warning is in line with the regulations around sanctions for that particular offense of failure to disclose or under-disclosing or disclosing late. So the issue of the written warning is very much in line with the regulations around that particular offense insofar as public servants are concerned.
Granted that you are implementing the recommendations of the SIU, but it's kind of confusing to the public that on the one hand, when she requested for that leave, it was in relation to the reports about the PPE corruption scandal. And yet she is now being, the responses to her work situation are now in terms of her disclosures. Just take us through this so we understand better why she went on leave for one matter and is now being reprimanded for a different matter.
Yes, no, that's correct. And I can understand why it could be confusing, Desiree. So she went on leave for the issue of the PPE investigation, and that leave was granted. She requested the special leave was granted. There was then an investigation, and the investigation then had a preliminary report. The preliminary report was then that found that insofar as her conduct as a public servant, she is guilty of not having disclosed particular financial interest. And that's why the presidency is taking the action that it's taking. So the finding around Ms. Diko is limited to her failure to disclose some of the boards that she would have served on, or some of the councils that she would have served on. So that's why the process within the presidency between herself and her employer is linked or limited to that particular recommendation, because that is what the finding of the report had insofar as Ms. Diko was concerned.
Nonceba, before I let you go today, SCOPA, the SIU is briefing SCOPA on various matters, including progress on the Digital Vibes investigation. Do we know when the president will be letting the public know about the findings in terms of the Digital Vibes investigation, the report that was handed in by the SIU to the president?
Yes, of course, the report has been handed to the president, and when the president has been able to, ventilate some of the issues that are raised in the report, the presidency will duly communicate the further sort of steps emanating from that particular report.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Nonceba Mhlauli is the spokesperson for the Office of the Presidency.